Joining us on set for an exclusive interview is Globalstar CEO Paul Jacobs. He is also the former CEO of Qualcomm, and it's great to have you back here, so welcome.
Thanks for having me again.
So let's start with this. I want to just get it out of the way right now because the stock moved so aggressively on it earlier in the week. But this report, you do have this relationship with Apple. Apple's an investor. You do provide the connectivity for these satellite services that we all get in our iPhones. Is it coming to the next iteration of the watch?
So I was as surprised as everybody else to see that report because obviously our customers don't share their product plans with us, and for obviously good reason, because they want to make a big impact on the world. So I can't tell you the answer to that question.
Okay. But what we are seeing in terms of space infrastructure, the opportunity around connectivity and the role that Globalstar plays in that, where do you see the biggest opportunities? I mean, you talked about industrial IoT. Obviously, there are the iPhones and the Apple partnership. And we are hearing increasingly more about the possibilities to be connected in more remote and rural ways, and more competitors coming online, including Starlink and AST Space Mobile, to do it.
Right. Well, I mean, there's a lot of hype right now about broadband everywhere, even outside of cellular coverage. What we think is that that's an unproven market right now, especially since connectivity is available now in your smartphone when you're outside of coverage, or if there's a natural disaster or something like that. And there have been studies saying that consumers don't really want to pay a lot more for this connectivity. So what's the business model for some of those competitors? We know what our business model is. When you put a new feature into a phone, then you might get people to buy a new phone sooner, or you might change some market share. That actually is real dollars to a handset manufacturer. And so that actually can pay for the features. This idea that these massive investments may be paid for by something which is somewhat of a field of dreams. We do not know yet whether consumers will come. And in fact, decades ago, Iridium and Qualcomm both went bankrupt trying to sell cellular services outside of cellular coverage areas. So this is still speculative at this point on that, but what we're doing is known, and there is a business model for it.
I want to note that Broadcom and Costco earnings, those results are both out. Both stocks, it looks like, are initially headed higher. We'll get those to you as soon as they're ready. Paul, what's the Starlink effect? I'm seeing a lot of people trying it out, picking these up, talking about how easy it is to connect. There's the demand side, and then there's actually the logistics of you get that signal down, you got terrestrial networks you got to deal with to actually make it useful for customers. But is there a positive effect to the buzz around Starlink?
Yeah, well, for us, I think that people see that satellite connectivity is so much more interesting. Obviously, the podium that we have to talk from is not the same as Starlink. Starlink gets a lot of press, a lot of discussion about it, but we're actually providing a commercial service today. During the hurricanes, during the natural disasters, lives were saved. Back in Maui, when the cell towers burned down, people's lives were saved. That is real. That's commercial today. If you look going forward for somebody that's trying to get spectrum from a mobile network operator to run a service, even if they can clear out an area for the satellite connectivity, those beams are still big, and they may interfere with terrestrial networks as well. So it's really a question, can a mobile network operator afford to clear out the spectrum? And those spectrum pieces, they've cost a lot to get the spectrum, and they've cost a lot to put the terrestrial network out in that area. So the opportunity cost of clearing spectrum is quite large for a mobile network operator. In contrast, we have our spectrum assigned. We have more spectrum than people have been talking about for Starlink. We have it globally, and it's the same spectrum. So that's a huge advantage for us.
So is the spectrum itself the differentiating opportunity, or is there a big new market that we should expect that you're going to be able to uniquely capture that the existing broadband providers can't?
So we go for ubiquity. We can provide connectivity everywhere around the world. And so we've had things like tracking various kinds of devices, tracking animals, tracking things that need a low-cost solution but need to be connected in some way, tracked in some way. And we have low-cost devices, low-cost service. Our constellation is basically paid for by our wholesale business. So we really have a different price point that we can bring to the market.